They're not bad.
So, Sony CEO, Sony Pictures CEO, Tony Vinciquerra, whatever his name is. Sony, mate, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense. He's got this wide-ranging interview, and he's asked about bits and pieces. He's asked about the Spider-Verse films, and his responses are just diabolical. Awful. How do you feel about the performance of the film studio during your tenure? Because he's retiring next year. We've had mostly very, very good results. Unfortunately, Kraven the Hunter that we launched last weekend, and my last film launch, is probably the worst launch we had in the 7.5 years. So that didn't work out very well, which I still don't understand because the film is not a bad film.
So many people would disagree.
There's no metric. What metric is he working with that is a good film for him? Like, the money's not good. That's a financial disaster. The reviews aren't good. What metric are you working with that is informing your opinion there, Tony? What are you doing? Part of being a good boss is admitting fault. This is one of the things where you should hold your hands up and go, you know what, actually? Yeah, we
screwed the pooch on that one, guys.
Yeah.
We'll do better next time. Just take the L. Take the L and move on.
Mate, it gets worse. It actually gets worse. We've been very successful. We've beat our budgets every year. I've been here, even through strikes and COVID, and max bonuses several of the years for all the employees. It was a good run, and the film studio was a big part of it. Going back to Kraven the Hunter, and Sony had Madame Web earlier this year, which also underperformed. Let's just touch on Madame Web for a moment, he says. Madame Web underperformed in the theaters because the press just crucified it. It was not a bad film.
Wow.
And it did great on Netflix. For some reason, the press decided that they didn't want us making these films out of Kraven and Madame Web, and the critics just destroyed them. They also did it with Venom, but the audience loved Venom and made Venom a massive hit. These are not terrible films. They were just destroyed by the critics and the press for some reason.
Wow, Venom was a massive hit.
It did really well, yeah. The first Venom
was it a massive hit though?
It did like $800 million, yeah, almost $1 billion. It was pretty good.
Did Venom get to 800 million?
I'm pretty certain it did, yeah. I'm pretty certain
it did.
Wow,
okay. That's news to me. I did not.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty certain it got to about 800 million. It was a crazy high number. Like, for what it was a crazy high number. Am I right? Am I wrong?
470 million worldwide.
Where did I get 800 from?
No. The first Venom movie made $856 million.
Yeah.
The second one was Carnage. Carnage made $500 million.
I was right.
Last Dance was $475. You looked.
I was right. First Venom did do 800 million then. Yeah. Close to yeah. I was right. I was bloody right. Hey, go my memory.
Yeah. The Last Dance was the one I was thinking. Was he talking about the original Venom there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the original Venom. I like the original Venom. But Maximum Carnage, God, they destroyed that storyline. That was one of my favorite storylines in the comics back in the day, and I could not wait for that movie to come out. I was so pumped for it, and it was abysmal. I was so disappointed walking out of the theater on that. And then the third one, man, I didn't even bother to go watch it. I was like, man, I'll watch it for free on the high seas when it comes out on digital.
It wasn't a good movie.
Yeah, I heard.
Well, he continues anyway. So he's asked, do you think that the Spider-Man universe strategy needs to be rethought? I do think we need to rethink it just because it's snake bitten. If we put another one out, it's going to get destroyed no matter how good or bad it is.
That's not true, you idiot.
A way to miss the point. Like, the take-home message is like, oh no, they're fine, they're good films. No, they're not. What I can't understand. I can't understand what he's using as a measure of quality for these films. Like, on what planet does he think Madam Web is not a bad film? His own words. It was not bad. It was not a bad film. On what planet are you living on, mate?
Yeah.
What
Seriously.
Planet you're living on? Maybe he was just reviewing the dailies of Sydney Sweeney in a tight lycra outfit. Maybe
that's what I'd be doing.
That's fine. That would not be a bad film, but we didn't get that. We got Madam Web, whatever the piss that was. Bloody abysmal, man. Absolutely abysmal. Awful. And then he's just blaming the critics. No, mate. No. It's not the critics. Otherwise, why do you think that the audience didn't like it either? God. What do you reckon, Culture? What's your take on this?
Studio head is off his rocker. He's got his head buried in the same sand as Bob Iger. The level of out of touch is not unique to anybody in the industry. I think they all are reasonably all out of touch. The audience doesn't want Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man, and that's largely where the Spider-Verse failed. I think if you take a look at what people needed for these characters to work was a movie that pitted Spider-Man against like a considerable number of his rogues gallery, and then to flesh out their backstory or their origin story or their continuing story, right? But if you can't bring a Spider-Man into a film with these characters, there's no point in writing around these characters because the villains don't exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You can't have you just can't have the villains. The villains are only good because they're going up against Spider-Man.
And the biggest problem with Madam Web is it wasn't even a superhero film. Because there was like no superheroism going on, and then the villain wasn't all that intriguing, and
no,
they really
there
did
was that weird ADR as well. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was full of that. I can't. They had to continually change dialogue. I know the number of cuts they made in that film, but and the nonsensical continuity issues with. Right after 9/11, you could fly easily, despite the fact that you just stole a cab in the most surveilled city in the United States. I don't.
Well, they were in New York, weren't they?
Yeah.
God, I mean, if they set that in 2024, they'd all be they'd be getting caught on fire, wouldn't they?
Yeah. No, I think but I think that not having the girls. Yes, it was not having the girls even for a moment deliver on their superhero potential.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Just get Sydney Sweeney in the outfit, man. That's all anyone wanted to watch. That's literally that's all they wanted to see.
Yeah.
They didn't want to see Dakota Johnson. They just wanted to see Sydney Sweeney in a tight outfit.
Yeah.
Just give us that.
Yeah. They smashed them things down in that movie.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Not in the outfit though. They didn't in the outfit.
No, not in the outfit.
And consider that now the options for these superheroes is to turn back in time and give us noir versions of them. So Paul mentioned that we're getting a Spider-Man noir with Nick Cage, but we're also there's also a pretty solid rumor that I believe is accurate. We're going to get a noir Batman as well. So
I'm actually okay with those little one-offs.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
think the
like
Nick Cage thing's going to be great.
Yeah, it's sort of like what what was it? There was another superhero movie that came out that was good for a one-off. We've talked about it before on the show, but anyways, I can't remember. But as far as the villain stuff goes, you know, the one villain focused show or movie that I think still would have done well, that did do well without the superhero in the universe, and would have done well even if they didn't come out with a movie with the hero in that universe beforehand, was the Penguin. If the Batman never came out and they just did that show, the Penguin, with the way that it ended, I think that show still works even without that movie.
I agree with that.
Of course, you would have to give some backstory to, this happened, and this is why the city flooded, that sort of thing, to kind of kick the show off or whatever. But it can be done. But Sony doesn't seem to know how to do it, and neither do a lot of other people.
Well, they're never going to learn because they're burying their head in the sand as well.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Like, can you imagine a Carnage show on HBO Max, R-rated, that's Carnage? Like, take him out. It's not the Carnage from the Venom movie, but just a Carnage movie or TV show that's sort of, like modern day, sort of like how the Penguin was done.
Yeah.
I mean, where he is like the evil, psychopathic, murderous, piece of shit out there that, is going through the whole show that they're focused on. And then, Spider-Man might show up at the very end, and then it goes into a movie or something like that. I mean, this kind of stuff can be done, but for him to just be sitting there saying, these were good movies, or, it's just going to get destroyed, whether it's good or bad. No, you obviously don't have your hand on the pulse of the audience that shows up for your movies that you're making. That is not true.
The comments are embarrassing. They're embarrassing comments. Absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. Right. Cool. Right.